This is WBSM On Demand.
It's time for South Coast Now with Chris McCarthy. Streaming live on WBSM.com and the WBSM app. Call 508-996-0500. Text us using App Chat on the WBSM app. Now, Chris McCarthy.
You know, I want to say good morning because it's election day, primary. I really love this stuff, but man, I hate it when incompetence rules the day. What you have in the city of New Bedford is repeated demonstrations of absolute incompetence that are costing people, my listeners, their civil rights. It is total incompetence. And look, I have a lot of respect for John Mitchell. I consider him a friend. It is his fault. He's had opportunities to make changes. For whatever reason, he doesn't make those changes. And once again, people's civil rights are being obstructed, which is a federal crime if you can prove intent. At this point, the negligence may be enough. In other words, I think John Mitchell is being negligent in his choice of people to run elections. Remember, John Mitchell appoints the Elections Commission. The city council confirms or rejects his appointments. What is happening in the city of New Bedford is absolute civil rights violation on the scale of what happened in the 1960s in Alabama. And the reason I say that, folks, is this is not the first time. And dare I say it won't be the last unless you folks do something about it. I'm now joined by National Committee man, veteran political activist, civil rights activist, really, Ron Kaufman. Good morning, Ron Kaufman. How are you, sir?
Good morning, Bob. How are you, sir?
I'm doing well. So I appreciate you joining me here, Ron. And I know you've been in contact with people. So Ron is a veteran political activist. He was director in the George H.W. Bush, political director in the first Bush White House. He's been very involved in Republican politics here in Massachusetts and around the country. He's our Republican state committee man at the national level. Ron, I know you've been in contact with Sheriff Tom Hodgson here and other people in the Republican Party. We're having a problem here where there are not Republican ballots available in the city of New Bedford in some precincts. Have you ever seen this before, Ron?
Unfortunately, Bob, I have, but not to this level. It's one thing for a machine in 3F to be not working or 1D not to be working. It's another thing not to have Republican ballots. I've never seen that before, ever. It's crazy.
It's craziness. And look, I will tell you something else, Ron. There are precincts in Ward 1 where Donald Trump beat Hillary Clinton, okay? Which I've been in politics down here in the greater New Bedford area for 30 years now. And There's no Republican candidate in my lifetime who has ever won a precinct in the city of New Bedford in the general election for president, including Mitt Romney, who was a very, popular governor. So there's no doubt about it. There's something going on here.
Well, it's unfortunate. Even if it's a honest mistake, it doesn't matter. It plays into a lot of people's fears that the Democrats are out to screw our candidates whenever possible. And I hope it's resolved quickly. And I've talked with the sheriff, as you have, and I think they're working on it. But it's inexcusable. It's just inexcusable. And it's unfortunate because it plays into that narrative that people don't trust the voting procedures, which is not good for anybody.
Ron, I can tell you that separate from what's going on today, we've had citizens in my audience, I would dare say they're Democrats, have made complaints about the elections office here in New Bedford to the Attorney General, and they've gotten nowhere with it. So I think people don't know, and I don't blame them, they don't know how to preserve the civil rights here in the city of New Bedford when it comes to voting and democracy, because they're getting no response even from our Attorney General on this matter.
Well, our country is based on good citizens coming in from around the world, and we're truly a melting pot of great people, and we're made greater by legal people coming in and being part of the population. And it's unfortunate that they lose faith in our voting system because they can't get a ballot.
So, Ron, you didn't join us originally to talk about this problem because it just popped up, as my audience knows, this morning.
Right.
But you've joined us because you are encouraging people to get out and vote. Who do you like and why do you like them in this Republican primary?
I assume you mean for president.
Yes, sir.
Bob, listen, the nominee of our party is going to be Donald Trump.
Yes.
I've been blessed, as you kindly said earlier, although I think you called me old in a very nice way.
Well, you've called me Bob a couple times, which is my father, so that's all right, too.
All right. But the bottom line is we had a lot of good candidates, but it's very clear this race for the nomination is basically over. Mm-hmm. Donald Trump is going to be the nominee, and as you believe the national polling, Donald Trump is going to be the 47th president. And some folks may not think that's a great thing. I do. Because this is going to be a race between clearly two men, and one of them has a record of policies that are destroying our country. So this is really an easy vote for a lot of people, I believe. And that Donald Trump, and he has his warts too a little bit, is clearly the better candidate to save our country from destruction.
So we're speaking with Ron Kaufman, Republican National Committee man. So, Ron, one of the other big races that's going on, and I've been highlighting it here locally, is we have the Republican State Committee, which doesn't matter to a lot of people, but it really ought to, because really they're the people who run the Republican State Party, which you've dedicated your life to. We have a number of candidates that are running in the sound of my voice here in southeastern Massachusetts. Would you care to put a plug in for anybody who's going running for Republican State Committee here in Massachusetts?
Well, let me say this, if I could.
Sure.
I've tried to stay out of the fray a little bit, if you will. Mm-hmm. But Amy Carnavelli, who was newly elected a year ago chairman, mm-hmm. has done a spectacular job in very difficult circumstances. She inherited a mess, over $600,000 in debt that no one knew about, hidden under the rug, if you will, mm-hmm. and has somehow been able to raise almost $800,000, which is an enormous amount of money because people don't want to give to paying off debts, right. as you would imagine. Right. And we've done something that hasn't been done in years and years, which is win 2 special elections. Mm-hmm. So I'm excited about what's going to happen today across the Commonwealth. People who support Amy, like Bob McConnell and Joanne Hutchins and others, are just going to be a breath of fresh air for the city, for the state committee. And I'm looking forward to the next 4 years of having a really good chair who cares and members of the committee who cares. And I know Bob and Joanne will be great members of the committee.
We're speaking with Ron Kaufman. Ron, I agree with you. Both Bob and Joanne are friends of mine, and they're really, really bright lights in the Republican Party. And down here, we've got a number of open opportunities. As you know, Mark Pacheco, my radio audience, covers that district. He's leaving after many years. Could be a Republican pickup. If we have state party support.
Well, one thing you'll get that you haven't gotten for the last 4 years is state party support. If you go up and look at Peter Durant's very successful race, it came about because the state party did well. The RNC, God bless us, we kicked in $15,000 and 2 employees, and collectively together, the party worked together, and he won in kind of a landslide, and then replaced him with another Republican. And I know that Sandra Wright and others are running for Pacheco's seat, and I'm convinced that we're going to take that seat. And I think you're right. There are several other races that appear to be coming up as open seats. I think Democrats are fleeing Beacon Hill, as they should. What a disgrace Beacon Hill has become, Bob. I mean, look at this governor is a disaster.
Yes.
Only one worse than her is the mayor of Boston and the 12 fools of the city council. So wherever you look, you have bad Democrats giving bad policies and really bringing a state which, quite frankly, former governor left it in great shape, and now it's also in debt. So I'm excited. I think it's going to be a great election today. I think the right people are going to win, and I think we're going to have a really good 4 years, Bob.
Ron, I want to thank you for joining me, and really, again, we'll get you back on here. We have a lot as we get ready for November, but I think you're right. It's going to be a great year for the Republicans, which makes it a great year for the country and a great year for Massachusetts.
It's a pleasure talking with you, and make sure you vote several times today, Bob.
All right, thanks. That's Ron Kaufman, who apparently knew my father, Bob McCarthy. But Ron's a good guy, and he is correct about the Republican State Committee. But look, that guest was scheduled before we knew. I guess I shouldn't have scheduled a guest from out of town for this hour, but I was optimistic. And when it comes to New Bedford election employees, unfortunately, from the director on down, once again, we have fouls. People's civil rights are being taken, hindered with. So the reason Ron knew something about this is because he's on the Republican National Committee, and that what's happening in New Bedford is national news. It's a national embarrassment, probably we haven't had since that serial killer, right, running around embarrassing the city, right? This is on that level. This is a presidential election. And once again, I'm sorry, let's name it. Manny DeBretto has screwed up once again. He wants the job, desperate to keep the job as the elections commissioner, but unfortunately, he's not able to do it. I don't know why the mayor keeps reappointing him. I have my suspicions as to why. But, the problem with local elections is they get personal. It's one of the reasons a lot of people stay away from them, right? I'm not comfortable saying it. I don't want to name the man, embarrass him, but it's not me doing it. It's his performance, right? I mean, if you did a great job, we would say it, right? But Manny DeBretto has once again screwed up. And I'm under no illusion that won't cause me some pressure from his family members, some of whom at least were friends of mine, but I just can't continue to obscure what is going on here. I mean, I gave the man some room to repair himself or whatever is going on over there. But the idea, you just heard it from Ron Kaufman, who's on the Republican National Committee, worked in George H.W. Bush's White House. He was political director for the White House. Ron Kaufman said he's never seen this. That man has been involved in elections all over the United States. All over the United States. Never in his life has he ever seen Republican ballots not being available. This is an embarrassment for the city of New Bedford, the likes of which the mayor can't just laugh off. He's had opportunity after opportunity to make changes. He has not made the changes. I don't know. Look, the mayor thought I was being hyperbolic when I called it a civil rights issue. Apparently, he hasn't listened to his own employer in the past, the Justice Department. It's a civil rights violation. Whether it happens in the city of New Bedford, where he's the mayor, or it happens in Alabama. If you withhold ballots of a political party, I am so absolutely outraged, infuriated. Look, I expected Manny would screw up again. I don't know why the mayor didn't. I don't know why you folks in New Bedford haven't stood up for yourself. Good morning. Thanks for holding.
Wow,
Oh, you got to call back. Don't put me on speakerphone. I know it's for your convenience, but this is a commercial radio station. Don't call up, put me on speakerphone so that you can do whatever the hell you're doing, and then you want to break in when I finally pick up the line. Please, for the love of God, recognize that if you call a radio station, you're going to be on hold. Don't put me on hold on speakerphone. Please, be smarter than that. Good morning. Thank you for holding.
I am smarter than that.
Thank you. Thank you.
Chris, I am the voter zero that broke the story in New Bedford.
Thank you.
On Ward 1. Because people like us have to bring this up.
Yes.
Because this is a thing where people say, hey, there's nothing going on. There's nothing to see here, folks. This is why people are bringing up the election fraud system because of these reasons here, Chris. I got to the ballot, with the vote, 7 o'clock, Ward 1D, up by Bible Hospital. No ballot for me.
And that's traditionally one of the highest performing precincts in the city of New Bedford.
Absolutely. And they say, okay, what am I going to do now? Come back later. The guy took my name, he scratched it off on the thing, and said, make sure you put a star there, sir, because I'm going to come back here later and vote. Because I'm not in this go. And that's when I got on the phone and called Tim this morning.
Oh, you've done something courageous, and I really appreciate it. So you went in there this morning. Is that normally the time you go vote, 7 o'clock in the morning, as soon as polls open?
Yeah, that's right.
Because you work out of town.
Vote. Yep, I go out of town. I work. So I said, okay, let me get there for 7 o'clock. So there's no line. Got there. I was the first person in there. And the police officers there, plus the people there. And I went to go to the person. What street are you from? Gave him my street number. Okay, what ballot? I'm like, there's no ballot here for me. There's no Republican ballot. He said, we don't have any ballots here. I said, what do you mean you don't have any ballots? Didn't give us any. Who didn't give you anything? Many people said resign today immediately.
Absolutely.
After this debacle. Immediately. Because this ain't the first time. How many strikes do you want to give this guy? 5?
Right.
4? No. This guy has been incompetent all this time. Manny Brito, please step down. Take your honor with yourself and do the right thing for the people of New Bedford, and the mayor should be asking them to step down.
Yes.
Because this is national now, Chris.
It's national news.
This is going. How could I not get the people not getting the vote for Republican? And now they're going to say because it's 1-1, it's a Republican ward. What does that tell you, people? Did somebody do this on purpose? I don't know. I can't read people's mind, but it does. It smells like something bad, Chris, and it shows something not really well. Can you tell me the machine's not working, the power's not staying on? But then the mayor said we got these new Cadillac machines. Well, guess what? The Cadillac machine, the engine fell down.
Yeah.
It's not working.
Thank you, sir. Listen, I want to tell you this. First of all, you're tremendously courageous. I appreciate it. And everyone else has got to follow, and thanks for the call, everyone's got to follow your example. If you have problems voting in the city of New Bedford or the town of Dartmouth or the town of Fairhaven, anywhere in Massachusetts, in the sound of my voice, I want you to pick up the phone and call us. It is going to take a lot of people standing up for themselves and their neighbors. This is your civil rights. Justice delayed is justice denied. This is absolutely outrageous. If you're on hold, stay there. I do have to take a break. Again, we're already seeing democracy breaking down in the city of New Bedford. Look, when you have an incompetent employee who handles people's civil rights, at some point, if you keep them in that position, your negligence, particularly if you're the opponent politically, works in your favor, right? What is happening in the city of New Bedford, that caller is right. Manny DeBrito should resign immediately if he has any pride. The mayor, who's out of town, traveling today, should get him on the phone and fire him over the phone. It's not like he won't see it coming. This has been going on for years in the city of New Bedford. People's civil rights are in question, and they're being denied. Folks, stick around. I'm going to take a very short break. I'm Chris McCarthy, and I want to speak with you, particularly if you're just had a problem voting like they're having in the city of New Bedford. Stick around. We'll be right back.
The way I always do. How was I to know she was with the Russians too?
Send lawyers, guns, and money. It's another New Bedford election. Send lawyers, guns, and money. It's another New Bedford election. It's like you can set your clock to it, right? No wonder the mayor's not around. He's out of town. He's traveling today, which is his prerogative. Who wants to be around when Manny runs another disaster? 508-996-0500. Good morning. Thanks for holding. Hello, you're on the air.
Hi, Chris. The buzz doesn't buzz in anymore. Yeah. I would like you to call Mayor Lang, former Mayor Lang. He used to run commercials. Yes. On WBSM. He would pay for them himself.
Yes.
And in the commercial, he said that the men and women of the armed forces are dying to defend your right and your freedom to go vote. Okay? Yes. He used to run those. Do you remember those commercials?
I do remember those ads because we built off of that. Yeah, I totally remember. That's where our whole Get Out the Vote campaign that we've run here on WBSM, we did it for the last year's elections. So yeah, I do remember that. But anyway, your point is?
My point is that if I'm Ward 1B, okay, and I haven't voted yet, but we're going to go down there at lunchtime and vote. And if I'm denied a Republican ballot, which is, I may hire a former Mayor Scott Lang to represent me in a class action lawsuit against the city of New Bedford in my denial of my right to vote.
Yes. I think that's what has to happen. Either that or the mayor. Look, the mayor should fire this Manny DeBrito by phone today. Get him out of there.
Yeah, absolutely. I agree with that. And like I said, the other thing is that back in the old days, after the Civil War, the Dixie Democrats would charge black people $5, a poll tax, they called it, to vote. This is the equivalent of that. This is even worse than I have $5.
Right.
I'll tell you what. Call Manny up. Tell him I'll give him $5 so he could be a good Dixie Democrat, and he gives me a Republican ballot. Okay, I'll be just like the guy. I'll walk in the shoes of former slaves for by just a few minutes of my life, and I'll pay him $5 to get a printed Republican ballot down to 1B. And if he doesn't do it, he is lower than scum in my view. And people should be outraged, but people are not, because New Bedford is primarily a stupid city, and bad things should happen to stupid people. And that's all I got to say. I'm pissed.
I don't blame you. Thank you, my friend. Thank you. And look, I don't blame people for being angry. Look, it's not. If it is an accident, if it is incompetence, it doesn't really matter what the reason is. When you show up, and we heard from the gentleman who showed up, who had the, number one, the guts and the brains to make it a public issue. It takes a lot to call the radio station and explain what's happening to you, right? The gentleman who went to vote in Ward 1 this morning, one of the highest turnout precincts in a city that many people don't bother to vote in. Now we wonder, I guess we have the answer for why people don't bother, right? Maybe they realize their time is more valuable. They don't want to be part of the farce that is elections in the city of New Bedford. It's a shame, though. It really is a shame. Good morning. Thanks for trying again.
Hey, what's going on, Chris?
You tell me.
So, if I heard one of your previous callers correctly, the precinct that's in question has voted in favor of Republicans in the past, or like a Republican-leaning precinct.
Ward 1
Did I hear that correctly?
Ward 1 is where you're going to get most of your Republican ballots in the city of New Bedford. Ward 1, yep. In fact, there's a precinct up in Ward 1 that a couple of years ago, Donald Trump won when he ran against Hillary Clinton. And he's the first Republican in my lifetime, and I looked back at the old results, to ever win a precinct in a presidential general election in the city of New Bedford. So even Romney couldn't do that when he was the governor. So, had been the governor.
Yeah.
So, absolutely. To not send Republican ballots to Ward 1 is outrageous. Outrageous.
So this is the entire Ward 1, or just one precinct in Ward 1?
Well, we know that it was at least one precinct, 1D, which is one of the highest performing precincts in the city of New Bedford.
Wasn't this the same precinct and the same ward that had the sign issue?
Exactly. It is where Manny put up the signs, or had one of the vendors put up the wrong signs at the wrong day, telling people where to vote. It was incorrect. It was in that same precinct where you had the city of New Bedford resources used to give out disinformation to the voters.
Right. So it seems a little odd that it happens again in the same area.
Yes.
You know, it's not like all of a sudden it's just Ward, a precinct in Ward 2 or a precinct in Ward 6. It's once again Ward 1, once again a heavily Republican or Republican-leaning ward and precinct. It screams of more than incompetence.
Yes.
Just because of the correlation.
Yes.
And that's absolutely disturbing. And knowing Manny on a personal level, I know his politics run adverse to them.
Yes.
So that's another correlation that I'm making that I find very disturbing also. You're 100% correct that the mayor should be making a phone call today.
Got to get him out of there.
100%.
This is the guy who's going to count the ballots and certify the election?
Right. If we're looking to have an election where we have increased trust. Now, you're an economic guy.
Yep.
Warren Buffett or his partner Munger said the highest form of strength is trust.
Yep.
If you don't have trust, you have nothing. Right? And if you don't have trust in your election system, you have nothing. And that's the main reason why a lot of people don't vote is they don't trust. They don't trust either the politicians that are running or they don't trust the system itself.
Right.
And in this particular instance, there's a reason why people in New Bedford do not go out and vote. It's because they don't trust the system.
Right.
And if you have somebody in there that's not trustworthy, you need to get them out and get somebody in there that is.
Absolutely. Thank you for the call, my friend. Folks, look, I don't say this cavalierly or casually. It is people's civil rights are at risk here. It is the faith in our election system is in jeopardy, and with legitimate reason. We've had Ron Kaufman on this morning, Republican National Committee man, the political director from the White House in George H.W. Bush's administration, say he's never in his political life ever seen an occasion where Republicans show up to vote and there's no ballots available. This is third world stuff. This is how you fix elections in the third world. The mayor, and this is the guy who's going to count the ballots and certify the election for the city of New Bedford. This is an unbelievable tragedy. And I'm embarrassed for the city of New Bedford, for the entire South Coast region, and for the state of Massachusetts. Tonight, you will lead the national news, folks. Stick around. I have to take a very short break. I'm Chris McCarthy. I have one phone line open. I see you folks on hold. I can see all of you. I'm going to talk to you. But I have to take a quick break. Stick around. Folks, we're getting all kinds of reports coming in about additional oddities at the election polls. Apparently, there are no flags at the polls at Nemandin. They can't find the election flag in the poll at Nemandin Junior High School that they normally put out in front at the poll location, so it's easily seen from the street. It is just one oddity after another. If you're having problems, call us at 508-996-0500. We're going to go to the phones. They're jammed. Good morning. Thank you for calling.
Hello.
Hi, you're on the air.
Hi. I just want to say that if they don't correct this situation, then those votes today don't matter.
Right.
If citizens can't vote on, what party they want to vote on, and that's not available to them, then as far as I'm concerned, that election means crap.
Because go ahead.
It's against the constitutional right.
You today could not vote for however long it occurred, at least in Ward 1, all right? So, remember, we had that caller came at 7 in the morning. He fortunately alerted the public and everybody else by calling the radio station. But at that same time, there were a lot of the places that probably happened that we'll never know about because they were able to cover it up, right? I mean, it's really an incredible situation. Thank you for the calling and thank you for your opinion. Remember, folks, we have Sean Oliver in Ward 3. He's the Ward 3 city councilor. He went to every single precinct in his ward now. He found only one precinct, can you imagine this? Only one that had the machines weren't working. That was 3F. You know what happens at 3F? That's where all the other Republicans live. 3F has one of the highest voter turnouts in the city of New Bedford. Certainly a lot of people were going to poll the Republican ballot. The election machine was breaking down in Ward 3. 3F. I mean, this is, I don't know how you can call it a coincidence. If it's a coincidence, well, I don't believe in coincidence. Not when it comes to election fraud. Good morning. Thanks for calling.
Hi, Chris.
Hi, good morning.
So when these people at this polling station went there to open, I assume early, and realized there was no Republican ballots, you mean to tell me they opened the doors and let the Democrats come in and vote?
That's what's happening.
Instead of closing the doors and saying we have no ballots, you'll have to wait until we get ballots, and calling someone to bring them in. But no, they opened the door and they let Democrats vote and not Republicans.
Yes. That's what it sounds like happened. Oh, it's completely outrageous.
That's outrageous.
This is a national scandal, and it's in the city of New Bedford.
And shouldn't somebody be on call at City Hall all day during today in case people start running out of ballots? So shouldn't they have called at 6:30 and say we have no ballots, and they could have got them there? I don't understand how they're just saying, oh, we have no ballots. Sorry, we got to wait for them. But Democrats can vote. That's okay. That's outrageous.
It's completely outrageous. It is a civil rights violation on the level we've never seen before. Really, I had Ron Kaufman on, former national political director in the White House. He said he's never seen it in his life that they were so blatant.
Outrageous.
It's absolutely
Thank you very much.
Thank you for the call. Remember, folks, look, what they're doing up in Ward 1 now, apparently one of the machines still doesn't work. So I talked to Leo Choquette earlier. What they're doing is they're letting people vote and put their ballot to the side. I believe that's what they're doing in Ward 3 as well. So someone from the Republican State Committee called. They tried to get in touch with Manny. They got his answering machine. At the city of New Bedford, I was on the air when I got that message. In the last hour, they got Manny's answering machine. This is... Obviously, the Secretary of State has to be involved. John Mitchell has to do something here. Stick around. We'll be right back. If you're on hold, stay there. The phone lines are blowing up. I assume it's a lot of people calling to tell me about other problems they're having voting in the city of New Bedford. Remember, folks, don't stay silent. Speak up. This is your civil rights. It's true. New Bedford is a land of confusion. It shouldn't be, but it's like a third world country now. Let's go back to the phones. They're jammed. Good morning. Thanks for holding.
Hey there, Chris. How are you today?
I'm doing well. How are you?
Number 33 voting in Ward 1 in Freetown, Assonet. So there's a good traffic there. There's lots of signs up. You know exactly which door to go in. People there to help. I guess just going forward on the thing in New Bedford with Manny DeBrito, I mean, he's had a lot of opportunity to kind of get this set up. This is his Super Bowl after, having a bad season in the last election.
Right.
But I take it a step further because, I've hired lots of people. I've had to fire a few, but I'm responsible. When you're the executive in that role, whatever that role is, and that's where the mayor is.
Yes.
And was the mayor out there with him doing an audit? It just doesn't make any sense. I mean, there's only 3 ballots. How hard is this?
Right.
They're all different colors.
Right.
There's a blue one, there's a red one, and a white one. It's really easy. So where'd the blue ones go?
Right. Right.
I mean, come on. I kind of hold the mayor responsible because he's Mr. PR. And I think that Manny should just go immediately because the integrity is kind of screwed at this point,
I hope the mayor's listening. I mean, I thank you for the call, my friend. And it's the only alternative, right? I mean, come on, you can't keep the guy. Good morning. Good morning. Thanks for holding.
Chris?
Yes, sir.
Oh, it's Rick Souza from Fall River.
Hey, Rick, have you voted yet in Fall River?
Oh, yes, I have.
All right.
What's going on in New Bedford is common practice in Fall River. It's just the way it is. I mean, take, for instance, I'll give you an example. Mary Sahadi.
Yeah, I know her. She's
on the house. No, she was on the housing board.
Okay.
Right?
Yeah.
No, Mayor Coogan put his cousin on, Steve Long, got rid of Mary Sahadi. That's just the way it works in Fall River. See, what you're doing, we can't do in Fall River. Why? Because the radio station is owned by the Karams. So if you talk against the Karens, they cut you off immediately. So on WBSM, I don't know who owns WBSM.
It's a publicly traded company.
Yeah, it gives you free reign.
Yes.
We don't get that in Fall River.
Rick, I appreciate it, my friend. Thank you for the call. So, folks, we are going to take a news break now. This is local news. I've got full names. Please stay on the line if you can through the local news.